A 60-year-old Shaolin monk moves like he's 25. Complete range of motion. Zero stiffness. Fluid transitions between positions most people half his age can't achieve. And here's what's wild. This is something your body can genuinely return to. No supplements, no extreme workouts, just 6 movements practiced consistently. But here's what most people completely miss. You're not getting weaker as you age, you're getting stiffer. And that stiffness is what slowly steals your strength away. Not in one dramatic moment, but quietly over years. Joints lose space, your spine loses movement, your hips stop opening. And one day your body can still theoretically produce force, but it can't actually move that force anywhere. That's how strength becomes completely useless. By the end of this video, you'll have 6 Shaolin movements that rebuild a body that simply doesn't decay under time. Let's talk about why most people misunderstand aging completely. The first mistake is believing aging is fundamentally about muscle loss. It's not. It's about loss of movement. Quiet, gradual, invisible. Your joints stop articulating properly. Your spine loses its natural rhythm. Your tissues resist movement instead of responding to it. When movement degrades, force literally has nowhere to go. You're not weaker, you're restricted. Most fitness approaches after 50 focus exclusively on maintaining muscle mass while completely ignoring this movement restriction that's actually causing functional decline. Then there's the isolation approach to training these 3 qualities separately. Do strength training on one day, do stretching on another day, do balance work on a third day. The theory is separating these qualities allows focused development. The reality is the Shaolin never separated strength, mobility, and control. They trained them as one integrated system built in specific layers. Separate these qualities and you build isolated capabilities that never actually connect into functional movement. The static stretching only approach is another common failure. Hold stretches passively, never load the tissue under control. The theory is passive stretching restores mobility. The reality is passive stretching creates temporary length that disappears within hours. Real tissue adaptation requires controlled loading through range, not passive holding. The Shaolin used active controlled movement through range instead of passive stretching. The ignoring rotation approach is another critical mistake. Train only forward and backward movement patterns. Never train rotational capacity. The theory is linear movement is sufficient for most activities. The reality is movement is fundamentally rotational, not linear. Ignore rotation and you create a massive gap in functional capability. The Shaolin specifically trained rotational movement as an essential component. And finally, there's the missing integration mistake. Train each movement quality separately and never combine them. The theory is developing each quality individually eventually creates overall capability. The reality is isolated strength means almost nothing without integration. Your spine, hips, and shoulders must learn to move as one connected system, not as separate parts that happen to be strong individually. The Shaolin trained integration as its own essential phase. Every conventional approach to aging fails because it either misunderstands what's actually being lost, trains qualities in isolation, relies on passive stretching, ignores rotation, or never integrates everything into functional movement. The Shaolin 6-phase system addresses every element systematically. Here's phase 1, waking the spine. This isn't stretching, this is activation. Perform slow spinal flexion, then slow spinal extension, moving segment by segment through your entire spine. Your spine isn't one single structure, it's a chain of individual segments, and most people have completely forgotten how to move it that way. Start seated or standing. Slowly curl your spine forward, feeling each vertebra move individually, if possible. Then slowly extend backward, again moving segment by segment. Perform this for 2 to 3 minutes. This brings your entire spinal chain back online before you attempt anything more demanding. Phase 2 is strength and compression. This is a position most people avoid entirely, not because it's wrong, but because they've genuinely lost access to it over years of sitting in chairs. Sink into a deep squat position. Stay there. Heels grounded completely. Spine upright. This isn't rest. This is direct exposure to a position your body needs to relearn. Here your body relearns how to hold pressure without collapsing. Hold this position for 30 to 60 seconds. Your hips, knees, and ankles all adapt simultaneously to this compressed, loaded position. Phase 3 is opening what's been closed, specifically your hips. Step forward into a lunge position. Sink slowly and deliberately. Never force the movement. Let the tissue release naturally instead of fighting against resistance. Tight hips don't just limit your hip movement specifically, they interrupt your entire kinetic chain. When that chain breaks, power simply disappears, regardless of how strong any individual muscle might be. Hold this position for 30 to 45 seconds per side. Perform this daily to gradually restore hip mobility that's been lost over years. Phase 4 is strength outside your usual movement path. Most people move forward and backward exclusively throughout their entire day. Almost no one moves sideways with any intention. That's the massive gap in most people's movement capability. Shift your weight side to side in a lateral lunge pattern. Stay low throughout the movement. Control the descent completely. This builds strength in a direction your body still fundamentally needs, but almost never uses in daily life. What you don't train specifically becomes your limitation. Perform 8 to 10 repetitions per side. Phase 5 is restoring rotation. Movement was never meant to be purely linear. It's fundamentally rotational. Turn through your spine in a controlled rotational movement. Control the range completely. The goal isn't forcing depth into the rotation. The goal is owning whatever range you currently have access to. This is how force actually changes direction within your body. Without trained rotation, movement becomes rigid and disconnected. Perform slow, controlled rotations, 8 to 10 per side, focusing entirely on control rather than range. Phase 6 is integration. Now everything connects together. Your spine, your hips, your shoulders, moving as one unified system instead of separate, disconnected parts. Perform a flowing movement that connects spinal flexion, hip opening, lateral movement, and rotation into one continuous sequence. Flow upward, then flow downward, like a single continuous wave moving through your entire body. This is where movement actually becomes usable in real life, because isolated strength genuinely means nothing without this integration. Perform this integrated flow for 2 to 3 minutes, moving slowly and deliberately through the complete sequence. Here's how all 6 phases work together. Joints regain the space they gradually lost. Tissues regain elasticity that had diminished over years. Your spine regains the rhythm it once had naturally. When movement genuinely returns through this systematic process, force doesn't need to be forced through restricted pathways anymore. It's simply available exactly when you need it. Here's your complete daily protocol. 10 to 15 minutes every single day. Move through all 6 phases in sequence. Spinal activation first, compression strength second, hip opening third, lateral strength fourth, rotational restoration fifth, complete integration sixth. No rushing through any phase. No forcing range you don't currently have access to. This isn't about intensity. This is about repetition done correctly, performed daily, consistently. Track your progression carefully. Notice which phases feel most restricted initially. Notice how your range of motion changes over weeks. By week 2, you'll notice improved ease moving through daily activities. By week 4, positions that felt genuinely difficult initially will feel considerably more accessible. By week 8, your overall movement quality will have transformed noticeably. By month 3, people around you will notice how differently you move compared to before. This restores what time slowly and quietly takes away. Most people chase strength directly, But strength without underlying movement capacity simply doesn't last or transfer into real life. If your body can't move through its full intended range, it genuinely cannot express whatever power it does possess. So don't just train force directly. Restore the underlying system that actually allows force to be useful in the first place. If you're committing to these 6 Shaolin movements for ending stiffness after 50, drop a comment saying flow restoration, and let me build a community of people who understand that movement quality matters more than isolated strength. And if you want detailed guidance on modifying each phase for your current mobility level, how to progress the depth and range over time, or how to combine this with strength training, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're building the most complete movement restoration community on the internet. People who understand that fluid movement is the foundation everything else depends on. The Shaolin monks discovered that ending stiffness after 50 requires 6 integrated phases, not isolated stretching or strength work. Spinal activation for segment-by-segment mobility. Compression strength for confident loaded positions. Hip opening for kinetic chain restoration. Lateral strength for the movement direction most people ignore. Rotational restoration for directional force change. Complete integration for unified functional movement. That's the entire system. That's all you need. The decision is simple. Continue losing movement quietly while chasing isolated strength, or restore your complete movement system and make that strength genuinely usable. The commitment is sustainable. 10 to 15 minutes daily. That's it. The results are inevitable. From restricted, cautious movement to fluid, confident movement. From strength trapped inside stiffness to strength freely available. From a body that decays quietly to a body that moves like it did decades earlier. Now begin your first spinal activation. Start your daily practice, and I'll see you in the next video.